Right then, so we're here to talk about the 1910 election, the first of two general elections in 1910 that came after the government failed to get its budget through the House of Lords. This was Lloyd George's People's Budget, designed to pay for all the social reforms, the old age pensions, labour exchanges and all the rest of it. Peers turned it down, and we had Peers versus People, and in Southport we had Major White. He was a Tory.
Major Godfrey Dalrymple White, the Conservative.
Right.
The gallant major, they called him. He wasn't a great, exciting candidate. He used to go up and down Law Street on a horse and sort of talk to the people he went past. His great claim to fame was his father had led the charge of the Light Brigade, the Battle of Balaclava. He was in the Grenadier Guards and fought gallantly at the Boer War, and he was the Tory champion. He'd been in place for about 2.5 years. He previously sort of in East Wiltshire in 1906 and being defeated, so he had 2.5 years to get his feet under the table. Right. In I think it was April of 1909, Jack Asprey indicated he wouldn't be seeking re-election.
Right.
He won in 1906 very narrowly, right. Majority of about 200, I think it was, perhaps even less than 200. And Southport was really more of a Tory seat than a Liberal seat. Very, very marginal, nevertheless. Mm-hmm. But Liberals won it in 1885, lost it in 86, had gained it again in a couple of by-elections in 1899 and 1888 and 1899. Edward Marshall Hall had come and won it in 1900, then Asprey won it in 1906.
Right.
So late in the day, as it turned out, and we thought we had much longer, late in the day, we brought this rather controversial and charismatic candidate into town. The Baron de Forest was the Liberal candidate. Right. And an unusual choice of candidate, to say the least. Why was it unusual? First of all, he had Jewish ancestry. Mm-hmm. He had Catholic beliefs. He had a very complex personal life. He was of foreign background. He was possibly born in France, but brought up in Austria.
Right.
And of course the Tories had a field day, England for the English, that was their
That's right.
That was their policy.
And a white candidate as well.
A white man, you got to vote for the white man. And it was a very nasty and unpleasant campaign. I think the Tories had very much to say, and I think they played the card, the race card, very cleverly, right. Because White himself never attacked de Forest.
Right.
In fact, when the Southport Guardian, which was a Liberal paper, and of course this is the other great thing about the election, you had the Visitor, which was the Conservative paper, the Guardian, the Liberal paper, and they were terribly partisan, and the things they said about their opponents were quite awful. But when the Guardian pointed out in about November that the Tories were mounting a very unpleasant and nasty campaign, not only against Baron de Forest, but the Baroness, Major White said, "You mustn't attack the lady. She's a delightful woman. You mustn't attack her." Didn't say you shouldn't attack the Baron de Forest.
Right, but the lady was off ground.
The lady was quite off limits. What happened in almost every public meeting, and bearing in mind here that the election was fought by public meeting very much. Everyone, probably almost every voter would have attended at least one public meeting. And you had meetings in places like Banks, where there were 369 people on the electoral roll, where 369 people would turn up to each candidate's meeting. I mean, Banks was solidly Liberal, but they'd come along to the Tory meeting, they'd heckle a little bit. The Tories, though, at their meetings would have a warm-up speaker, right. Usually the local chairman of the ward or the organisation, and he'd start off by saying, it's not about the personalities of this campaign, but yes. We have an Englishman, a gallant major, and the radicals, or sometimes they say the socialist and radicals, because they reckoned our candidate was very left-wing. Right. He's a foreigner. Yeah. He's not quite right. He's not one of us.
No. Red-blooded Englishman.
Yes, and all kinds of nasty things were said. And then there's an incredible whispering campaign which was going on. George Pilkington, who was the previous Liberal Member of Parliament, first Liberal Member of Parliament, in fact, and the President of the party, happened to be travelling one day to Manchester, right. Got off the train at Salford and overheard a conversation between two prominent Tories, and they called George Pilkington over and said, "Is it true that your candidate ill-treats his wife? Is it true that your candidate, his home in London is a gambling hell? And the third thing was, is it true that your candidate's been blackballed from every club in London that you can't get membership to?
Right.
So it was repeated back to Baron de Forest. And these were the sort of, obviously this was the whispering campaign that was going on the doorstep. The Tory who said it, a man called Cicero Smith, apologised and said, no, I didn't, I was only repeating what other people were saying to me. People from London and Mansfield probably knew better than me.
Right.
I'm awfully sorry. De Forest said, he accepted his apology. He said, well, I'll say nothing more about it.
Right.
In retrospect, he oughtn't to have done that, I think, because when the Guardian said that some very un-British things were being said about the Liberal candidate, they couldn't really substantiate what those things were,
right.
Because De Forest had promised silence.
Right, okay. Well, let's leave that bit there then,
Yes.
and we'll return afterwards and do the next bit, which will be the election campaign.